My senior year of college, second semester, I had already met all the requirements for my major, and so all I needed to graduate was just to get the credits for 3 more classes. So I took them all pass-fail. Now, one of those classes I took pass-fail with a friend of mine who was taking the class for a grade. It was interesting studying with her because I was just doing what I needed to do in order to pass, but she was concerned about the grade that she got in that class, so she was working a lot harder and taking it to that next level because she was seeking something more than just passing. There's a story that touches on that same principle in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 19. A young man approaches Jesus and asks Jesus, "How do I gain entry into the kingdom of heaven?" And Jesus says, "You need to keep the commandments." The young man replies, "Well, I do that. I already observe all the commandments." So Jesus then says, "To seek perfection, go and sell all your possessions and give them to the poor. Give the money to the poor. Then come and follow me." So Jesus there distinguishes between just gaining entry into heaven and seeking perfection. Now, I don't want people to get the wrong idea that there's no such thing as just gaining entry into heaven. It's already challenging enough to keep the commandments. That is difficult. But for some people, they want to seek perfection. They want to go above and beyond, not just what it takes to enter into heaven, but even more. They want perfection. And they can do that through what the church calls the Evangelical Counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Now, a lot of times when people hear about poverty, chastity, and obedience, they think about what you give up. So in poverty, I give up money, I give up things. With chastity, I give up my sexuality. With obedience, I give up my decisions, I give up my freedom. And that's not quite what they're about. So each of them, it's about detachment from things of this world in order to grow closer to God and to be with Him in the next. So for example, poverty, God gives us the grace to suppress our greed and to make moderate, proper use of the things of this world, like money, our possessions. With chastity, God gives us the grace to order and moderate our sexual passions according to our state in life, thereby reducing our obsession with their energy. And with obedience, God gives us the grace to free ourselves from pride and willfulness. A lot of times when people talk about the evangelical counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience, you think of someone who's making a public vow to enter into religious life. And that's true. In order to enter into a religious order, you make public vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. But no matter your vocation and no matter your state in life, if you want to seek perfection, then you too can live out the calls of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Of course, it's going to look very different depending on what your vocation is, where God is calling you, or what your state in life is. And the way you live it out might be different than the way I live it out. But the important thing is, you're focusing on detaching from the things of this world in order to grow closer to God, in order to become more perfect and more like God wants us to be. So for poverty, it might look different if you're a single person, or if you're a married person or a married person with children versus someone who lives in a religious order. For chastity, the way I, as a married man, live out that counsel is going to be very different than the way someone who is single or consecrated lives out chastity. And same thing with obedience. I might not be part of a religious order where I have a superior that I need to answer to, but my wife and I, we make promises of obedience to one another. So the question for you to ask yourself and to enter into prayer is, how can you seek perfection by living out the counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience?